Hey, we are here with you today. This is Frisky Biscuit, the podcast that sometimes is strange and wonderful, and we're really not sure if we're going to make it here or not, the way things go with our equipment, but we're getting a little bit better at it. Anyway, I think we are. I have my cohort,
Lisa,
and she's with us today, and she's the brain power here that does all the research and comes up with some of the cool stuff we're going to talk about. We've got a great program. I know I say that every time. I think they're all great. We have a couple with us today, Byron and Michelle, that are going to talk about something that we want you to get involved in. It's called Wreaths Across America, and it is a wonderful program all about decorating our vets' cemetery graves. So we're going to talk to them. They got this beautiful tour bus going around the country. And what else do we have today?
Oh, we've got all kinds of stuff. First off, I thought we would talk about this whole podcast thing. You know, it's becoming a phenomenon across people that are listening. I mean, when I go to the gym, which isn't that often, however, when I do...
Howard, to your credit, it looks like you do.
It seems like everybody has something in their ear and they're listening to either radio or podcast. And they say only about 18% of the people that listen to radio listen to it in their car. But over a third of all the Americans listen to podcasts in general. And most of them, over 50%, listen to them when they're working out. They listen to it when they're at home. And guess who across the world has the most percentage of their country listening to podcasts? This kind of blew me away.
Well, I know it's not this country because everybody looks pretty overweight around here.
No, well, you know, podcasting, you can listen to it when you're doing your chores at your house or you're just sitting around. You know, about a third of Americans listen to a podcast, about 21% of the United Kingdom, 40% of Spain, and 30% of Canada. But, oh, that's one of those words, isn't it?
You got caught. The virus words. Yeah, but.
If you haven't listened to the virus word video, go back and listen to that because
Nailed.
It's so easy. It's the South Koreans. 53% of the South Koreans listen to podcasting.
Well, good for them.
So I wish I spoke your language and maybe you speak English.
Probably not.
No.
I know we don't speak Korean, so you're going to have to translate with Google, I guess.
Yeah. The ones that are up and coming, though, are really interesting. Chile, 83% increase. It's the fastest growing country that's listening to podcasts. Then Argentina, Peru, Mexico, and China.
What do you suppose that is? What do you think the reason for that is them listening to podcasts? Some of them third world countries, you think it's because they're wanting to grab a hold of what's going on in the world? They're finally getting wise to it or something? Or
I think so. I think that, you know, a lot of these countries only have a certain genre in their TV and they want to hear something else. And we're conditioned for either TV or radio. And podcasting is the new radio. You know,
new radio.
Yeah.
I'm an old radio guy from way back when, and man, I loved radio. Of course, I was on the air, and I did the DJ thing for a while, and the TV thing for a while, and the weather and all that kind of stuff. But this thing here is definitely very challenging. It's a lot easier than it used to be, but to us old timers, man, I tell you what, it's a whole completely different in the way we have to do this.
What's
Even though the
different
equipment,
from the old radio
well, it's all digital.
days?
It's all digital, and that was analog, and we had knobs, and things made sense. This stuff here is all digital, and it's all about numbers, zeros and ones.
I see.
And,
so before you used to actually physically turn things, now it's just all a digital platform.
Yeah, we had these little knobs, and they were, attenuators, and they were hooked to just like a record player. But the equipment was all managed by electrons rather than digital numbers. And it's strange. It's hard to explain it, and I'm not doing a very good job. But, man, it is just different now. And the way sound is developed, the waveforms and using wave files and MP3s and MP4s, which is one's video, one's audio. It's just a whole different way of looking at it and thinking about it, but yet it's still the same. Your outcome's the same. And a lot of ways, the digital gives you a much cleaner signal, a lot cleaner sound. Some people like the old analog kind of AM radio sound, kind of more full. but it's just different. And we're having fun with this, but our boo-boos and stuff are pretty obvious to some of you, especially you young people, that we're making a lot of mistakes technically here.
And I suppose
I'm working on it.
In the old days, you actually had to have your own equipment as far as your antennas for your own station on radio, right?
Well, that's
now,
correct.
Now it's all digitized with satellites and with different podcast channels.
Everything operates now on a digital system, which is, it all translates the same way. Where with analog, the way it used to be, you had different voltages and things like this, and they all had to match in a whole different kind of a way, and it was all about electricity.
Interesting.
All about electricity. Now, this isn't about electricity. Electricity runs it, but it's about converting that analog signal to a digital signal, which is just pulsing numbers. And billions and billions and trillions of numbers that give us our sound.
So you used to have to be an engineer, pretty much.
Pretty much have to be an engineer, and now anybody can do this except for me.
I don't know. I watch you plug all these cords in and lights, and I suppose TV and radio is so different because TV, there's a whole different dimension of view and movement.
Well,
it's
different, but yet it's the same. It's all digital, and it's done exactly the same way, except it translates into a video signal rather than a audio signal. That's done with a converter, and it's done a converter and a system that channels it into one direction or the other, and the kind of signal, digital signal, how many numbers it's going to be. TV takes a lot more numbers.
And those of us in our trucks and our motorhomes, all we have to do is
just flip a switch. Flip a switch, and it comes over the internet, and it comes over your cell sign, and man, you got it. And so, the thing of it is, those of you that are contacting us, we really appreciate it. We've been pleading for comments, and the reason for that is not to assure us that you're listening out there. Well, part of it is, but the other thing is we want to know if we're hitting the mark on content that's interesting for you. This is all about the audience now. It's not about us having fun doing this, and this is allegedly supposed to be a service to people.
Yes. We want to hear what you want to hear.
Just like radio was a service. You only got your broadcast license if you're going to prove you could serve a certain public or a certain location that didn't have the opportunity to have radio signal so they could listen to it. So this is kind of the same thing, except there's so many podcasters out there. There's 800,000 of them right now, and they anticipate millions here in the next 5 years. So it means everybody does have a voice, but this voice, what's important is are we reaching you? Who are you? We want to know, and we want to know about you because we want to zoom in on the stuff you want to hear. So this is fun for you to listen to because there's just so much noise out there that people, are tired of the noise. They want something they can learn, something that can entertain them, something that they feel like a part of a community, which tempting to build here. Mm-hmm. And so let us know. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, because podcasting is growing too. It's growing leaps and bounds. They say by next year there'll be 160 million Americans alone listening to podcasts. And what's interesting on our podcast, we are getting quite a bit in the Brazil and the South America. So thank you guys for listening to us. We really appreciate it. And those of you listening out on the road, there's not as many. Most people listen to it at home, but those of you that want to get out on the road, there's a brand new program that you can actually rent an RV. The RVs you used to see for rentals were all the ones that had the big dogs on the side and, a Robin Williams type of RV. Well, the new RVs, Good Sam, those of you that are out on the road a lot, almost everybody has a Good Sam membership. It's not very much. It's a yearly membership, and it gives you a little bit of discount in all the campgrounds and different places that you stop along the way. Well, they put together a brand new program. If you've ever heard of vacation rental by owner, VRBO, or Airbnb, most people have when you go on vacation, and instead of staying in a hotel, you rent somebody's house. Well, this is the same concept. You can go rent an RV. You can rent a Class A, a Class B, a Class C, a towable. There's even an other category that has all kinds of other
They have a
things in it.
Mervo.
Yes.
A Mervo. Motorhome rental by owner.
Yeah. But they called it
Mervo.
The Good Sam Club. Actually, it's called RVRentals.com. So if you're interested, go to RVRentals.com. And there's 24/7 roadside assistance. They give you, those of you that are renting your RVs, they give you $1 million in like a liability insurance that comes free with it.
Man, that's really good right there.
Yeah. You know what, though? It only covers the outside. A lot of them, if you go to rvrentals.com and look at it and really go into the details of it, the inside's not covered. So a lot of rentals out there will put an additional deposit on if you trash the inside. So
they don't want to know what you're doing on the inside.
Right, I know. Well, they can't get the insurance to cover it, the damages. And sometimes there's add-ons. So you got to be, each person and each rental has different agreements. So once you find the rental you want, then you go down and you can negotiate with the owner or email them back and forth. So for the owners that want to rent their RVs, which is great, you know, there's so many RVs out there that are sitting around. So if you want to do a rental in your area, it's starting to pick up and people are starting to do it more. It only costs you 5%. 5% of the rental, and you get to choose what your rental rate is. So you can look at what everybody else is doing.
That's an interesting program. I, personally think it's a lot more fun just to own your own. And but I do get it. I'm kind of a diehard in that respect, but I'm listening to you talk about this. It's definitely what you do in your RV stays in your RV.
That's right. That's right. And the people that are renting it, they pay a 5% service fee to Good Sam. So Good Sam's making 10% on each side. Although if you're renting and you do not have a Good Sam membership, it's 10%. So, you got to look at the ins and outs of it. But for some people that only want to go a week or two a year, and those of you that are interested in buying an RV and you have no idea what to buy, you can go and rent a Class A or Class C or a towable and see the experience. Now, make sure when you're looking at the site, rvrentals.com, that the RV that you like is in your area. I mean, because if you're in New York and there's an RV
that makes total sense.
In Florida, that's a long way for them.
Honey, I rented an RV. We have to go to New York to pick it up, yes. Even though we are in California.
Although,
not
it's
real good at
cool
logistics.
Of somebody that wants to say, go travel New England in the fall, and they're from Florida, they could just fly up to New England and pick up their RV. I think it's a great program. You just also have to make sure, there is a rule if you're over 10,000 pounds that you have to stop at the weigh stations. They say this is the rule in Arkansas, Georgia, Iowa, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, North Dakota, Iowa, Rhode Island, and Washington State and Wisconsin. They say if you're over 10,000 pounds, you're supposed to stop at the truck weigh stations. California and Oregon, it's over 26,000 pounds. Now, I've never seen an RV stop, and what I've read on some of the sites, the guys laugh at you if you go through and stop. And there is a little clause that say commercial, and we're not commercial. Some of the states, though, technically, if you weigh more than 10,000 pounds, you're supposed to stop. So I've never seen anybody do it. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Well, I do know this, though. If you get caught overweight, it's not a good thing. So, these CAT scales around are a good thing to pay attention to. They're very inexpensive. I think everybody, we've done that. We've weighed ours, and we probably ought to do it again because we're loading up more stuff. If you're overweight and you get caught, a lot of it can mess up your insurance. A lot of it can mess up like tire warranties. For checking your weight. Yeah, and you can get a ticket. So pay attention to that and go to a CAT scale. They're all over the place now, and they're inexpensive, and just weigh your rig. Do an actual, what they call an axle weight measurement on each axle, so you know exactly what each one's carrying. Help.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of fun, too. You feel like you're on the road with all these truckers, and you go over the scale and you look at it and you're waiting and anticipating, are you overweight? Are you not overweight? So you got to learn how to do it too. The first time we went in, we didn't really know how to do it, and you actually download the app on your phone and do it by your phone. So
back to being a newbie.
Don't be a newbie like we were.
It was so confusing. I thought, God, I don't know how to do this. This is not that big a deal, but we just hadn't pulled up far enough so they actually could feel our feet down there. But anyway.
Yeah, and everything counts. And make sure you fill up in gas and fill up in water and put everything that you're planning on traveling into your RV before you go to the Catskills, because it adds up. I mean, all those little things count.
And empty your black tank first, because that's a lot of dead weight.
That's a great idea.
All right. What else do we have here today?
Well, we could talk about those truckers in California. You've heard about
Oh,
those,
man.
huh?
I'll tell you, how can somebody, I'm going to get political again, but how can somebody have a law and people set themselves up for the law and they have this opportunity to start a business, like a trucking business, and I got a truck, I got a business, things are rolling well, and then the state decides to change the rules and make it almost impossible for you to be an independent trucker. That just sounds like a bunch of BS to me, and I cannot believe they actually have done that in California.
They have. The state legislature, the unions actually put it together and threw it through the state legislature. It got stopped in 2019 and was caught up in the courts and the court system. It went to the Supreme Court and they would not hear the case, so that went back to the lower courts, and the lower courts went in favor of the state legislature, and of course the governor had to sign it into law. And so what it states is there's 170,000 truckers that are bringing goods and services to everybody. They're supplying, a huge amount of cargo throughout. 38 million residents are bringing cargo in and out to them with 170,000 truckers. Well, 70,000 of those truckers are independent truckers. And what the law states now is that you can't be an independent trucker unless you have these three things, and most of them can't do it. So their only choices are to either quit and work for another company. They can quit altogether, and there's a lot of elderly truckers that are just a few years from retirement, and they're like, okay, we're going to retire, we're going to move out of state, we're going to sell our house, and we're going to go somewhere else that has a better retirement system. This is an interesting one, they can bring a load into California, but they have to deadhead out. Who's going to do that with the cost of fuel?
Again, who comes up with these stupid laws? That does not even make sense. That's a handicap law. It purposely handicaps them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, they can also only take 50% of their miles, or less than 50% in California, so they could move to another state, Oregon or Nevada or Arizona, that are on the outside, like live right on the outside of California, and then be able to bring goods and services over, but they have to spend over 50% in the state that they live in of their driving miles. So it's really, and what's sad about it is if they go and work for another company versus working for themselves, the company has to pay them insurance, they have to pay, all these different things, and those companies that have to pay, they're going to pass all the additions onto the people that they serve. Those 38 million people, those households, those goods and services are going to rise. And there's already a problem. There's 80,000 less truckers that are required right now. And the ports, LA, the port of Los Angeles is the busiest port in the United States. And it's getting backlogged right now because there's not enough service to bring those containers out of the port. And they're also having some problems with the trains that are bringing the containers out. So it's a mess. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what the truckers are going to do.
Well, I tell you, the only defense there is to this is to vote and to pay attention to this stuff and not bury your head in the sand. And all you people out there that aren't truckers, that are consumers, please understand that one of the reasons we bring this up, we're one of you, and we're noticing our prices increase because of things like that, even here in Idaho. And from California to Idaho is a direct line, and it's affecting us already. So pay attention to this, vote, and really pay attention to what your congressmen and senators are doing, and the governor, how they allow this stuff to happen, and the reason it's happening. So that's about as political as we're going to get today. But we did want to mention it to call a lot of people's attentions that may watch this podcast to understand a lot of this is happening under the sheets where people don't really realize it's happening. And the bad thing about that is when we don't know what's happening, then it happens and it's done and it'll never get unraveled. So pay attention, vote. Pay attention to who you're voting for and what their policies are.
My heart goes out to the truckers, especially those ones that have worked for a long time and have only one truck. You know, if you have a couple of trucks and you've set yourself up and have your own company, then you're not going to be affected as much as those independent truckers that have worked a long time and they finally bought their own truck and they either have to work for another company now, start their own company, which isn't as easy as you think. You have to go through all the government regulations, or they can move out of state, which isn't as easy either because 50% of your loads have to come from out of state. So you're out scrambling for new business. And I suppose there's a lot of new business because there is such a deficit of truckers right now. So,
which is a great career, and we want to keep it there for people as much as we can have something to say about it. And the only thing we can do is yell loud and let people realize this is happening to a lot of your people that have their own businesses. And this is America. And America is all about independent business, independence, and freedom. Mm-hmm. And so let's shift to a more positive thing. I want to say something right now that my partner here is not who you think she is, even though I make fun of her and give her a hard time.
Yes,
she's a tough hombre, and she's a gun shooter, bow and arrow target expert, and she's a tough gal that is a very, very big patriot. And this next segment we're going to have here is all about that. I want you to take a moment to explain about the group that you're in. We don't have to beat it to death, but it's called Daughters of the American Revolution. And Lisa's a member of that. And the event that we have an interview on today was all about that. But it's a wonderful cause, what they do, what they represent, and who they are. Most of you are unaware that Lisa's great uncle is Benjamin Franklin. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How about that?
Yeah, I joined this group and it was difficult to join. It took months. You have to actually prove that you have patriots in your lineage that was part of the revolution. And surprisingly, I had quite a few. There were some that came over on the Mayflower. Both sides of my family were from Massachusetts, so it kind of makes sense in New England, but you also have to prove it. You have to go back and get the birth and death certificates of each of your ancestors back to your patriot. And Daughters of the American Revolution has a pretty good database, and when you go back further, a lot of them were already in it. In in their database, basically. There's also Sons of the American Revolution, and what we do, we're a service organization, and we work with the veterans and help the veterans. And one of our biggest programs that we coordinate with is Wreaths Across America. So those of you that are truckers and RVers and commuters out there is a big exhibit that's going around America. It has been for the last couple of years. Right now, it's in our state of Idaho, and it will be going into Washington and then Nevada, and then cruising back across the United States to hit Arlington Cemetery for the big placement of wreaths, which happens December 17th. This was a program that started back in Maine years and years ago, with a gentleman that had a tree farm, and he used to make wreaths, and he had 5,000 extra wreaths that year. And so he went over to Arlington Cemetery, and they're green wreaths with a big red bow. So they really stand out against the snow and the white headstones in the cemetery. So he placed these wreaths, and he did it for years. And then a photographer that came by and took a picture of all these beautiful green wreaths, big red bows against the white headstones, and it went viral. And year after year, it's picked up, and I understand there's about 3,500 cemeteries now. We have 5 in our region that we do it every winter, and we honor those that kept this country and fought for this country, and they gave everything. They gave their life. Their spouses died. I mean, it's not like today where, am I going to get to go to the store to get cheese and milk today? No, they gave it all.
They were the true road warriors.
They were the true warriors.
True road warriors.
And so this exhibit is really cool. They have the coolest motorhome, and it's like a teaching fifth wheel that goes behind them, although it is a towable, right? That goes behind them, and it's a big classroom, and you can watch this really cool film. It brought tears to my eyes of what our ancestors did for us, and they're cruising around America. There's 2 million volunteers that are helping with Wreaths Across America, and the wreaths are only $15. So we'll put a link in the description for both all our podcasts and those of you that are watching on YouTube if you want to get involved and do a donation of $15, which puts a wreath at a grave. And December 17th and on, go in your area, especially where there is veterans. Well, they're all veterans that they put the wreaths, and go and see if you can find them, especially if you live in a snow area, because it's so freaking beautiful when you see them, and they're all laid out on the cemetery. So we did an interview with this couple that is going around in this amazing rig.
It's
we
cool.
went in the rig. We took some pictures for you.
It's very cool.
Byron and Michelle.
Byron and Michelle. So while we have time left, this interview is pretty interesting. And I mean, it's not full of action figures and things like this. This is about the real action figures that made a difference in this country. And we are patriots, Lisa and I, big time. So if you don't like that, tune out. But this is, you're going to get a lot of that here because we want people to.
Us. We wouldn't have what we have today.
We think it's really important that the youngsters now have history again about what this country's about and who they are and where they came from. Just like Lisa is a descendant of Ben Franklin and many other people that also have great names and fought for this country and died. And that's in her lineage. And it's probably in mine too. I haven't done the work to figure out where I come from yet.
Because remember, you're their DNA. You are them.
Yes. So all of us have this. We came from there. So this is Byron and Michelle. And without further ado, let's take a listen.
Okay, welcome to Frisky Biscuit. Today we have an amazing podcast for you. We're coming straight from Twin Falls, Idaho, and we have Wreaths Across America. And this is the couple that's responsible.
Thank you.
So thank you and welcome to the show. Give us a little bit of background about yourself, where you came from, and how you got involved with Wreaths Across America.
We were both teachers. Byron is retired from the Coast Guard after 27 years, and he was teaching at a trade school. He was teaching engine overhaul, and I've been an elementary teacher for 27 years. We saw the job advertised, and we've always wanted to travel the country and see everything, and we're passionate about veterans and giving back, so we thought we would give this a try. So we applied to the job, and they accepted us, and here we are.
So our audience that isn't familiar with Wreaths Across America, what is it?
So it's a nonprofit. We're out of Columbia Falls, Maine. We it started in 1992 by Maura Wister, and he's a wreath maker in Maine, so he's our founder. He had a additional 5,000 wreaths in 1992, and he was looking for a way to place those wreaths, and he had been to Arlington as a young boy. So he got permission through Olympia Snow, our senator at the time, to lay those wreaths in Arlington. So that went on for about 14 years. Him and his family and friends, whatever he had left over would go to Arlington, and he would lay those wreaths. So in 2005, a photographer, an Air Force photographer, had gone through Arlington, and there was a little bit of snow on the ground. And the contrast with the snow and the gravestones went viral. So by 2007, there was so much interest in people wanting to take part in this that it became a nonprofit in 2007, and Wreaths Across America was born. So from there, it's gone from 5,000 wreaths in 1992, and last year they laid 2.5 million wreaths across the country at 3,200 cemeteries. So it's increasing every year. Our volunteers are about 2.5 million volunteers. We have the longest Veterans Parade. It goes from Harrington, Maine to Arlington. It takes about a week for that to happen. A lot of stops along the way to visit schools and different organizations that request us to stop in. It's a moving thing to see all those trucks roll into Arlington and then to place those wreaths at Arlington.
And when did you start this tour?
So
It's now the middle of July.
Yeah.
So we came on board in June, but this has been going since January, February of this year. So they take a short break after the Wreaths Across America Day, and they do some maintenance on the trailer and truck, and they get it ready, and then it starts off on a tour. So they have a tour route planned out a year ahead of time, and we start finding stops along the way. Daughters of the American Revolution have sponsored a lot of our stops and a lot of our events that we've had. And it's awesome to work with them because they're sponsoring their cemeteries in their local area. So for us to be able to help them bolster their numbers and place more wreaths while getting the word out about Wreaths Across America to people that may not know about them, it's priceless to us.
Now, had you traveled in a big rig like this ever before in your travels?
Never. I'm a school bus instructor for Class B, and I needed to get a Class A license to drive this. So Wreaths Across America helped me to do that. They gave me a driver to drive with me. We found a truck, we found a trailer, so I got a Class A to drive this.
Well, and it's quite the rig. I mean, tell us a little bit, for those of you that are listening to the podcast or seeing us on YouTube, we'll show you some pictures of this rig. It's quite amazing.
It's a
truck. Class C, right?
It is.
No,
it's a Class A.
Class A.
So
okay.
it's a Freightliner sport chassis. So it's basically what somebody would use for a large RV. So it's done up pretty well. It has all the bells and whistles inside, air seats, and it's an automatic. But wonderful truck to drive. And the trailer itself is made from it's Aluminum Trailer Corporation company in Napperny, Indiana. And it's all aluminum. It's basically a race car trailer with big slide outs. So our movie theater will hold about 20 people in here. It's air conditioned, self-contained. So we have a generator. Everything inside is state of the art. We can audio visual is set up in it. We can do Bluetooth. We have internet. So it's set up to basically plop in the middle of nowhere and be ready to roll. Driving it's an adventure just because it's so low to the ground. Anything that railroad tracks or speed humps, we have to be on the lookout for that. But it's I've never done truck stops before, so truck stops were new to me. The etiquette, there's etiquette at truck stops.
What type of etiquette are you finding that you, as a normal person driving a car, that you...
As a normal person driving a car, when you go into a truck stop, you park, you wait in line, you get up to the pump itself, you go in, you give them your card, you tell them what you want, you come back and pump, then you drive forward. If you don't drive forward and you block the pumps for the next guy, they tend to get a little upset with you.
Obviously, you've done this before.
I've done this before, and I was told the transportation director, when he traveled with me, helped me with some of that. He has intimate knowledge in trucking, but it's an adventure. Rewards, you have rewards cards when you go through the gas pumps. I didn't know anything about the rewards card. Our other team are truckers, so they gave me the ins and outs of how do you use your rewards. Other truckers said, we can get free showers, you can get free things. Some get free Christmas presents with their reward points. So didn't know any of this. So
So do you feel like a real trucker now?
I need a radio and I need a handle. I haven't. We don't.
He loves the horn.
Oh yeah, we use the horn all the time. People drive by, and we're in a rolling billboard.
Yeah.
So when people go by, they're honking at us, they're waving. So the only thing I can do is either wave back and honk the horn. And the bad part is Michelle's usually sleeping when I honk the horn.
No.
So
Now, have you driven at all?
Oh no.
No,
Lord,
no.
He doesn't like me driving the car. He wouldn't let me drive this.
Yeah.
I don't think Don would either. He's our boss.
So this trailer is a two-person job to set it up and take it down. Without the second person, it's pretty impossible to set up stairs and put stuff away. So for us to set it up is about 45 minutes, start to finish, to be ready for people to come in. The problem is when we roll into a place and we start setting up, people automatically start coming in. So
Can I come in? Can I? You know, we don't want to turn them away.
And my whole thing is to give somebody time.
Yeah.
So even if we're in a parking lot, if we're in a store and we have a shirt on and somebody stops to talk to us about it,
Airport,
we stop to give them time, and that's all it is, really. So
it really is this personal connection between our history, our ancestors, the veterans who served to keep us free, and a rolling billboard that's going down the road that's a reminder, really.
People are looking for ways to be patriotic. They are looking for
a way to give back.
A way to give back, and this gives them that opportunity. If they can't get out of the chair to go anywhere, they can sponsor a wreath. They can sponsor a specific wreath in a cemetery for a loved one that's passed away. They may know somebody that would like to come in to have the Vietnam veteran, the commemorative pin. So we've had that happen a bunch. People show up and say, "Oh, my brother is at home, and I'm going to call him."
Yeah.
And they show back up with him and the family. There is nothing better to see a family come in with a veteran that we're able to recognize them for their service. So
When we were, I believe that was still Wisconsin, wasn't it? When the grandfather and the son came in, and then the grandson was serving.
Yeah.
And when Byron started doing the pinning for his grandfather, he stood at attention because he's in the military. And I mean, and the way he spoke, he was so well spoken and just so honorable, and just everything about him spoke.
to see him have his grandfather recognized for
Right.
his service meant a lot to him.
Yeah, he was really moved by the ceremony, just to see his grandfather receive that. Yeah.
And how many miles do you plan? You started in June and you're going to end in December, is that right?
So what happens is, I'm not sure how many miles we're going to take up, but what happens is this will go across the country. So it'll go to Washington, it'll go to Oregon, it goes to Wyoming.
We're headed to Washington. We're going to Montana, then Washington. The other team will take it, and then they'll do Washington and then start into Oregon. And then we will pick it back up there. And we're going to do that, and then Utah and Nevada. And then we fly back out of Nevada. They take it. They're going to do Nevada and Kansas. And then we pick it back up again. So it's like switching out every few weeks. And then
So you get a break.
yeah, we go home and get a little bit of a vacation, but basically it's just we're drained, because it's a very emotional thing, as well as moving constantly, scheduling hotels, making sure that we're on time for whatever ceremony or whatever is going to happen with our sponsor. So we have to be in contact with them, but it's planning out the trip. We know where we need to go, but nothing else is done for us. So we have to do that as far as booking our hotel and, the planning the meals and, and getting our laundry done. Some nights we just want to sit in bed and just watch TV and we don't talk because we're just done, and she's done. But just the flights. I mean, we flew from Maine to Idaho Falls. We left at 5:45 in the morning, but we had to get up at 4. And then we didn't get in until what had been 6-10 hour time. So I mean, that day was it was long, and it's a little bit warm here compared to where we're from. So that zaps the life out of you also.
Yeah.
Just the time zones, we're 2 hours behind our time zone. So the time change, you wouldn't think that's a big deal, but it really does.
People from home are contacting us at 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
So.
Have you had any, really shocking experiences along the road that you just didn't expect?
Yeah, you broke an axle and the tire blew out.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, well, we were pulling out of an event that we had up in Wisconsin, and when we pulled out of the parking lot, one of the tires actually sheared off the axle, and when it did, it trashed the side of the trailer. So Don Queenie and I, we had to drive to find an axle, so we went to Napanee, Indiana, where they make the trailer, to buy an axle. they didn't have the one for us. They had one that was 3 inches too long. So we found a welding company there, and they cut it, welded it, and we drove it back. But that round trip to get the axle and go back was 900 miles.
So you're now a mechanic, a driver, a teacher,
I've been
a patriot.
I've been a mechanic my whole life. So that's
well, you're the perfect couple for this then.
So it just worked out well, and we've had some breakdowns along the way, a lot of tire issues. So it's getting better, but we're making the best of what we have.
Yeah.
As long as we're moving forward, I'm happy.
And is this your first time out west since you're from the East Coast?
For me, not.
Yeah.
So I've been to Idaho before. So I think it was Idaho Falls that I came to one time while I was in the Coast Guard, and I liked it then. So this is.
I have been to Las Vegas, but that was it. That's
Yeah.
as far west as I've been.
So, but I've been stationed all over the country and pretty much flown all over the country at different places. So this is a good fit for us. So.
And I noticed you have your
So I have Zoe. She's my service dog. She pretty much goes everywhere with me, and right now it's been a long day for her, and she is exhausted. She keeps trying to escape to go back to the truck. She goes everywhere with us. She flies with us, eats with us, and
Sleeps with
and
us.
sleeps with us. So she's a little attached to me. So if I go someplace, she is right there with me or waiting at the door for me to get back. But she meets and greets people as they come in, and sometimes when people are struggling with the day, they see her and they have a smile. So that's wonderful for us.
Sometimes we're walking through some very busy airports and people are just on a mission to get to their gate. They have blinders on, they're just so stressed about missing their planes or whatever, and they see her and they just smile, and it's a little bit of a tension reliever.
Yeah.
She's really good at finding a person in the theater and just kind of leaning in and getting a little pet, and everybody always says, oh, she's so sweet, and so if it brightens their day, then it's just great.
Well, what a great experience. Thank you for taking the time and coming on the Frisky Biscuit podcast and telling us about your journey. Really appreciate it. And Wreaths Across America, you can look it up online. We'll also put a link down below for you if you want to give a donation for a wreath for one of our patriots. So thank you again. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you.
Byron and Michelle, we really appreciate your time you spend with us because they are busy, busy, busy.
And wreathsacrossAmerica.org is the website that they come off of. And if you're driving out there, look for their rig. It's quite substantial. And wave, they say they love people to beep and wave, and they have a big blowhorn. So, hey, and we're also seeing these Frisky Biscuit stickers now on people's cars. So you can get in touch with us at our website, frisky-biscuit.com, or on YouTube, Frisky Biscuit Podcast, and we'll send one out to you.
Well, that's about it for us right now. We really appreciate you paying attention to us and giving us the time once a week. And we post this usually by Monday or Tuesday. So go check out Daughters of the American Revolution. You might be somebody who is related to somebody. And also, give us a shout out, whether it's email or text message, we don't care.
Or YouTube.
YouTube. Also, check us out on YouTube. This podcast is videoed as well. And many of the things those people talked about, we'll have photos on the YouTube channel on the podcast. The podcast is the same. It's just a video version of it. We really appreciate all of you listening to Spotify, Apple, Google, all the outlets that have us here. And also be watching for us in the local theater at Before the Movies. That's going to be starting very, very soon in the theater near you.
In the Idaho Twin Falls area.
In Twin Falls
It's
right
not-
now. Not nationwide yet.
Yeah.
So until next time, this is Dr. G.
And Lisa.
Wishing you a great week. We look forward to seeing you next time. So until then, take care of yourself and be a road warrior. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.